thank you for staying with us at today's Cybersecurity Summit. We are proud to announce our final keynote presentation with Franco Cappa, who is a cybersecurity advisor with the Department of Homeland Security's division called CISA, which he's going to debrief you on. Franco, thank you so much for joining us again.
Thank you very much. Appreciate the invite. As usual, it's great to be here and able to provide, some hopefully some good information for the folks actually that are attending the conference today.
Great, thank you, and the floor is yours.
That's great. Thank you again. Appreciate it. So I don't want to spend too much time on the first slide, so let me just move forward. And probably at this point, many of you, or at least some of you, have heard of CISA, or the Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security Agency, which is pretty much, I would say, the newest agency in the federal space. It was established in November 2018, so soon will be 2 years old, still fairly young. So we existed before as a directorate. So we were part of DHS, we still are part of DHS, but before we were a program under DHS called MPPD. And but then, in November 2018, we've been elevated to agency. What's the difference? So the fact is that now we have our budget, so we have more flexibility, of course. With that comes also more responsibility that we have as an agency in the federal space. So what we do, let's get to the point right away. So our mission is to protect critical infrastructure. That is, in a nutshell, what we do. We've been established, with that purpose. The Congress has given us, their authority to operate in order to strengthen the security posture of critical infrastructure. Critical infrastructure is basically those sectors or industries, if you will, that are needed to run the nation, to pretty much have to be able to live our lives in a good way, and be able to enjoy our lives and all that. So, and we'll get in a moment to what those sectors are. But that's our mission. Something else that's actually that we are responsible for, it's to protect the .gov. So all the federal agencies fall actually under our responsibility. So that's what we also do. And actually we receive feeds from all the federal agencies, so we have a good visibility about what's happening nationwide. Now, the sectors, there are 16 sectors that we that are considered critical, that are important for the well-being of a nation. You probably recognize some of them. You belong more than likely to one of these sectors in a way or another. Maybe you can see there is, in the middle is government, there is healthcare, of course, something that is extremely in the news pretty much every day today with this pandemic that we are dealing with. You have transportation there. You see there is water, there is electric, there is nuclear, there is defense, there is finance. So there are pretty much all the those industries you would think are important for our lives, and that's what we are here to protect or to help. And for the most part is basically giving them what they need to be able to be resilient. Our message is a message of resiliency, and you will see in a moment what I mean with that. So there is something that the name of the agency actually implies. So the name is Cybersecurity Infrastructure Security. So we work with both the cyber and the physical aspect or implications that are that we see with critical infrastructure. The Presidential Directive 21, which is the directive that gives us actually the authority, it talks about it in the interdependency between cyber and physical. And what I mean is, if you look actually at that on the bottom right of the screen, you see that cyber attacks will soon kill people. Security expert, warns. That's something that probably came out about a couple of years, maybe a year ago or something like that. But which sounds kind of pretty scary, to look at. But this is not actually science fiction or any kind of fiction. This is something that really can happen. And if you, most of the time use the example of the insulin pump that people carry, on their attached to their bodies. And now, those actually pumps can be handled and managed, through your phones. And now, if I hack your phone, and I can basically affect your insulin pump, or let's say have access to your insulin pump, it may, it may even actually kill you, in that. And of course, then if we think also in broader terms to, for example, industrial control systems. So when you have your SCADA type systems, so those systems actually that operate switches, pumps, you think about the energy sector, you've seen the water, there is, or the transportation, where you have switches that are operated, through these industrial control systems. So again, if I'm able to attack or hack those systems, then, it's definitely it may actually really kill people. So that's what I mean by this cyber physical interdependency, because unfortunately now, especially with the Internet of Things, so where everything is becoming smart and we have all sorts of things attached to our bodies in our homes, basically we are making cyber, what used to be technology type devices, now they are connected to some physical aspects. So this is just basically getting bigger and bigger. That's the bottom line. As a matter of fact, so we have a growing challenge, because we hear that, I guess, in the news very often, every day pretty much, about attacks happening, and the sophistication also is increasing. And of course, the attack surface is getting bigger. Why? Because again, if we consider all these Internet of Things, we are just making it bigger. And therefore, there is more an opportunity for threat actors actually to act on their malicious activities. So our message, what we do in terms of an agency, we partner with critical infrastructure. We work with both public sector and private sectors. And the way we do so, we actually, and this is by design, we are positioned in regions. So the nation is divided into 10 regions, which is the same way actually that FEMA operates, with 10 regions. For example, Philadelphia, talking about Philadelphia, it's actually where the headquarters is for Region 3, which is the region actually I also belong to. And the region includes Pennsylvania, Delaware, Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, and the capital, and the state, and the Washington, D.C., and the national capital. So that's what's included in Region 3. And why is it important? Because in the regions, there are folks like myself, CSAs, or other type of advisors. You'll see in a moment, what they are. And we actually are in the field, working with partners, stakeholders that are, in our area of responsibility. So that's why it's important. We are not just, sitting somewhere in DC. We are actually in the field, working with your organizations. So the way we operate, we try to offer services, tools, capabilities that can be used, especially for preparedness. So to help organizations being prepared and become resilient, as I said. But also, of course, we understand that unfortunately things are going to happen. So incidents are going to happen. And therefore, we need also to be able to respond to situations, to incidents. So we also have a response capability, and I have a slide for that later on. I was talking about different folks that are actually in the field. So myself, I'm a cybersecurity advisor. And then there are physical security advisors. They're called actually PSAs, or protective security advisors. There are quite a few in Region 3. Just to give you some background, that is because when actually DHS was established and the MPPD program initially, it was mostly dealing with terrorism. It was just right after September 11. So the concern at that point was mostly physical. And that's why there are actually more physical security advisors, if you will, PSAs versus CSAs. But we are actually in the process now of hiring cybersecurity advisors, at least one per state. So before the end of the year, actually, in terms of, as a matter of fact, in a few, in a couple of months, we'll have actually a presence pretty much in every state, which will improve, tremendously our capabilities. There is also an emergency communication advisor, and they work with everything that has to do with national attack communications, and of course 911 is one of their major areas of responsibility. But they're also available, let's say, to help organizations with issues regarding to communications in general. So moving forward, something else actually that we do. So we are also the risk advisor agency, if you will. So I mentioned that we have some cyber capabilities, we have physical capabilities, but we also have a risk management capability. So why? Because it's important, of course, to understand, security. It's dealing with risk. So we would not be an effective agency if we did not have that capability. So one of the functions of CISA is the National Risk Management Center, and they are responsible actually to identify risks nationwide. Some of the efforts that we involved with is actually establish what are considered the national critical functions, which is those functions that are so critical that would have an impact from a national perspective. And I usually give an example because I think it's easy to understand. So let's say I said that there are 16 sectors, but not everything done by a sector might be considered critical from a national point of view. And the example I usually like to give, because again, it's very simple to understand, is, okay, if I deal with a water company, their billing, it's not necessarily a critical function from a national perspective. Of course, it's important, it's essential for the business to run. They want to have the billing, working properly. But from a national perspective, what is considered a critical function within a water sector company, it's what? The water purification, the water distribution. So those are functions that are actually critical, because if you don't receive the water, that is going to have a huge impact on the area where the company is operating in. So they established 55 critical functions, and those are the ones that we try to concentrate on, let's say, when we establish our priorities. I mentioned my role as a CSA. We go out and try to establish this partnership and work with organizations like yours. Let's say for everybody who's in a business of security, I'm pretty sure it's easy to understand that in order to understand, how prepared you are, you need to know what you have. So an assessment, it gives you that perspective. It gives you that understanding about where you stand. So that's why part of what we do, some of the services that we offer are around, let's say, assessments. We offer, let's say, assessments that are, some are not technical at all. If you look from the top, are very strategic in a way they actually are performed, like the cyber resilience review, again, understanding the maturity of your organization, and then all the way down where you have the pen tests. So extremely technical, to understand, if the company is exposed, could be accessed or hacked or broken into, let's say, by an external actor. So in between, as I'm saying, there are other type of assessments and tools and actually services that we can offer. What we offer, it comes at no cost, and I usually like to specify the no cost versus free, and meaning that it's taxpayer money, right? So you don't have to pay for the service, but we all pay because we are all taxpayers. But for critical infrastructure organizations, it comes at no cost. So something to take advantage, because that's been already put in our budget. So we have the ability and the capabilities to offer these services. And that's what we try to do, partner with organizations and help them by providing these services and help them understanding how resilient they are and what might be needed to strengthen the security posture. You get reports, you get all sorts of feedback from us that will help you, let's say, or will help organizations in strengthening their capabilities. I want to give you, let's say, two things, tools, capabilities that you can actually use tonight or today if you want. So there is the CSET, which is one of the tools actually that we make available to organizations. This is something you can download yourself. You don't need to engage us, to get a copy of this CSET tool. It's basically if you just simply Google or look for a CSET, it will take you to the download page. And also there is actually there is a YouTube channel that will give you tutorials for the CSET with how to set it up, how to install it, what to do. And this actually, it's an environment that it's provided to you. The latest version, actually, it's web-based and it's easy to use. So it comes with a web service, everything. It's kind of part of the solution that we provide. And what you get with that one, it's the ability to, and actually, if you are looking at the slide, it says, it's actually good for both the OT and IT environments. And for those that are not familiar with OT, operational technology environments are, again, the ones that deal with industrial control systems, again, the SCADA type systems. So those are actually called operational technology type environments versus your IT or information technology, where you have your computer at your desk, where you do your emails and all that. And but the tool actually helps with both, for both, environments. And the way it works, basically, you have the ability to actually perform assessment. You can select multiple compliance requirements that you may have. That could be NIST, could be ISO, could be PCI, could be HIPAA, could be NERC, SIP for energy. There are, quite a few that you can assess your organization against. You can go as deep as you want, and that will give you, again, report results about how you do against those requirements and what might be needed for you to do to resolve some of the issues. And it can be pretty deep, again, what it provides, and extensive also in terms of what it gives you, and also provides you with capability of creating diagrams. If you don't have a capability, it gives you also templates. So if you're looking for an incident response plan, it gives you a template. It gives you links, where to look for in order to get more information about how to establish a cybersecurity program. So there are tons actually of resources made available. So a good tool actually to look at. Again, something you can do today. Something else, if you haven't had the chance actually to look at the cybersecurity, CISA Cyber Essentials. It's a program that we started about 3 months ago, and it's mostly for small businesses. We are now on chapter 3 or volume 3, if you will. And if you are able to see this page, the first volume was the leaders. So if you're a CISO, it gives you, let's say, some basic activities, things that you have to look for. The second one tells you, if you're a user, what's your responsibility? And the third one is now, how do you run your operation? So it's simple things, but practical activities that you could do to start strengthening your security posture right away. Again, it's mostly designed for smaller businesses because they may not have a full capability to establish a cybersecurity program. So a very useful tool. Again, the link is there. Happy to provide the link if needed. There is more resources. If you get a chance to go to the CISA.gov website, you see there are plenty of resources, and there's also a report button on the top right. There's also now a coronavirus button, so it gives you information specific to that. But the point is that if you click on the report button, it will give you, it will tell you, what to do. It will give you some checklists, how to respond to ransomware or other type of malware. And then also it will give you, a telephone number you can call, an email you can send in a request to, or a form that you can fill out, to pretty much contact us. As I said before, part of what we do, it's also responding. There's a slide for that in a moment. But the link also, the site, the website will give you access to feeds, mailing lists, and so on and so forth. You get bulletins, you get reports, alerts, and all that, and tips also. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, please go to the CISO.gov website, look for those feeds that you can actually subscribe to, and then you start, receiving alerts, informations, and so on and so forth. So very useful, to know what's happening. We also can help with training, and especially exercises. As you all know, exercising, it's a way to understand how prepared you are to respond to a situation, an event, an incident. We have a group of folks, a team actually that is responsible for that, and they can help with exercises from both a cyber physical perspective. They can give you templates or scenarios, if you will. If you don't know how to, if you're looking for a scenario, they can give you playbooks. So if you don't know how to run an exercise, so they can also actually facilitate an exercise. And at the end of the exercise, give you also a report about the findings and, things maybe to look at to improve and all that. So very useful, again, to understand, where you are in terms of response capabilities. Again, these are all things that you can take advantage of because it comes with no cost for partner organizations, critical infrastructure. Of course, for the governments also, we share information. We can provide IOCs or indicator of compromises in a machine-to-machine type of setting. And that's because it's a lot actually of IOCs that we will be able to share, 100,000, let's say, a week. Those are IOCs that we collect from open source and also IOCs that we create. So if you have the ability to actually ingest those feeds, usually we do that through the use of Stix and Taxi, our two protocols, that are actually used for information sharing, to the major ones. Then you can start receiving those IOCs and protect your organization. If you are not part of a ISAC or ISIS, or if you don't have if you, let's say, are critical infrastructure, there is an ISAC or information sharing analysis center that you actually be part of. It's just a matter of, being, brought in, if you will. So these are all ways where you can receive informations, alerts, and all that. Then, of course, also fusion centers that can help if there are issues, incidents, both from the cyber and physical perspective. If you are interested in more information, be happy to provide those. I mentioned before that we also have a response capability. So, to do that, we have a watch center, which is called CISO Central. And you can contact us for both physical and cyber type of incidents. It's 24/7 operations. It's not just a SOC per se, but there's also actually partners from other federal agencies like DoD, FBI, Secret Service. And they, of course, so that we all look at the same information. This is something came out after September 11, where some of the issues at that point were because the agencies were not talking to each other. So now there's actually physical representatives sitting on the same floor, so everybody's looking at the same information. A more effective way, let's say, to operate. I mentioned we have an incident response team. So if there's an incident, you're dealing with an incident, you can contact us, and the incident response team will get back to you. They may deploy people or appliances, or just provide you with some information about what to do. But we respond to every time we are contacted, we'll get back to you. Be assured of that. So the way we, just to clarify the federal response, so there is a threat response, there is asset response. The threat response is usually what the law enforcement do. So your FBI, they are looking for to prosecute, bad actors. They are looking to make an attribution about, who performed that attack. We, meaning from a CISA perspective, we are responsible for the asset response, meaning that we want to bring you guys back to business as quick as possible. That's our mission. That's our responsibility. So that's the distinction, if you will. With that said, I know it was lots of information to ingest. Maybe some of those you already heard, in other presentations, but it's always good to go back and making sure that you're all aware about what's available. So my email address is actually listed there. And also there is a general email for general questions, and those can be directed, to other folks. With that said, I'm gonna open up for questions. Bradford, are there any questions?
Okay. All right, let's hop back on. Thank you so much. Yes, we do have a few questions, and these questions actually have come up before when we've had the DHS/CISA present. Of course, the typical one is, can we get a copy of your slides? Can we get a copy of this presentation?
So not the slides per se. I cannot, unfortunately, we have restrictions to do that, but I can provide actually a PDF file with a summary of what I was presenting. So happy to do that. I can can be done through you, or people can email me directly. My email is in the slide here, and I can provide that.
We can put it up on the website. Thank you so much for that. And how can the services offered by CISA be requested? Do they just email you? Is there a specific portal that they go through?
So that's a great question. And there are in a couple of ways. So people can email me. I'll be happy to help with that. But if they go to the CISA.gov website, actually people are able to, from there directly to be, let's say the site provides email addresses that they can contact, to request a service. So there are different ways, to do that. Both ways work, but my role as a CSA is actually to help organizations. So it would be easier maybe to go through me, because then we can start a partnership and I can help, not just by providing a service, but maybe have a more thorough discussion and a broader discussion about a strategy more than just a service.
Okay, let's see. Is there a threshold to meet prior to calling CISA when dealing with an incident? Certain monetary amount, certain type of threshold in that capacity?
Right. No, there isn't any. So it's not that you have to have an impact of a certain amount of people impacted or a certain amount of money. So we can be contacted for any kind of incident or situation. Of course, the difference is in the way we respond. So if there is, let's say, a major incident, then the HER team might be deployed, and they can be deployed actually in a matter of even minutes, if you will. But again, if it's something if it's ransomware, I know it's something that many people are dealing with. There's not much can be done there, so probably not going to have people deployed, but we can still give recommendations about what to do. So it depends very much on the impact that the incident may have. There's actually a tool that is used, and it's actually a public tool to prioritize, the work. So that's, of course, it involves or it takes into account, the kind of impact, people impacted, and so on and so forth. So that is the only threshold that's used.
Okay, my dog wanted to say hello. He refuses to he always wants to be part of the show. All right, last question. How does one person know if they qualify as critical infrastructure? So how would my business be scaled or be scored so that we can get your services?
Right. So that's again, a question that I hear all the time. And so it's the directive gives, let's say, there's some language there. It says if there is an impact, that an organization that may have an impact, if the service is not is disrupted and all that. So that's pretty much the broad term used, to qualify. So, but pretty much, every the 16 sectors includes everything and anything, right? So the difference is you were still going to help, everybody, but the difference is if you could have an impact, that for millions of people, of course, then our prioritization would be different. So pretty much everybody can qualify, but the criteria is the prioritization given, let's say, for the services to be provided. So that's the only caveat, if you will. But otherwise, and if people have a doubt, they can reach out to me and say, then we can identify. So, but if you're a financial sector, service, of course you qualify. If you're healthcare, absolutely, right? Energy, absolutely. Water, and all that. So, or nuclear or defense. So, and if you look at, or even commercial, right? So, pretty much there is an area for everybody. So again, it might be that we can only give help to some extent, but we will help anybody.
Gotcha. So the local car wash probably wouldn't qualify, right?
Well, probably not so much, especially because it would not probably have a huge cybersecurity or physical security footprint or impact if disrupted.
That's right. That's right. Well, listen, thank you again, Franco, so much for joining us. And for those people that are still with us, if you've got additional questions for Franco, there's his email address. Or if you have questions for any of our experts, feel free to visit any of our virtual booths where we have a tremendous amount of global thought leaders that are at their booths that can give you demonstrations of their cutting edge tools. And of course, you can reach out to Franco to get on the list to get services from DHS and CISA. Again, Franco, thank you so much for joining us. And hopefully we will see you at a live cybersecurity summit sometime next year.
Looking forward to it. Thank you again for the invite.
Absolutely. Take care.
You too.